saying that he's being honest, and then maybe for the women to be like, oh, and I feel that honesty in my body versus not, and how that might be cool to get into and find validation in your body.
I love the words you just put to that, Sariah, because I'll give an example. I just had a recent disclosure I just did. The partner had a lot of questions, and the majority of her questions were based around, what do you think of my body? Have you
Mm-hmm.
other women? What do you think of my breasts? What do you think of my legs? And a lot of therapists would shudder at that kind of questioning, because they recognize, and this is very real, that she's asking for information that will stick in her brain for a while and really clutter things that are already feeling quite painful, right? The reason I don't shy away from that is because of exactly what you just said, which is that these are questions that will never go away until they're addressed. Otherwise, we're just dissociating from them and pushing them away.
Sure.
And secondly, the truth is the truth. It's the whole thing. And partners want to know, what was the mindset for my partner at the time that he was acting out? How was he viewing me? How was he holding me apart? And here's what's really important. She has the resiliency, as every woman does, to be able to overcome those hard things. So I don't shy away from asking questions, from partners asking those questions. I don't say, oh, are you sure you want to know that? I mean, I throw out a warning every once in a while. But here's the thing. She felt that in her body for the whole marriage, right? This is a very common story. I could give you many examples. So she's asking questions directly tied to experiences that she's physically manifested, sensing that there had been judgments, sensing that there had been comparisons.
Mm-hmm.
And what was really healing for this couple, as it is for any couple in this situation, is when he can take ownership of that. Most often he really is scared to do that because he doesn't want to hurt her, but takes the ownership and demonstrates to her, hey, I want to develop a healthy sexuality where these thoughts and these ideas that I have are no longer driving my ship. It can actually be very helpful. So we get into the mud before we get all cleaned up, right?
Yeah, you have to. Right. Absolutely. And I love that you allow her the opportunity to be validated, because you're exactly right. She has those questions in her mind because she experienced that. And then for her to be validated of like, yes, I was thinking those things, or yes, I was viewing you that way. I always talk about truth and how sometimes it's, please God, don't let this be truth. Like, please don't let this be the truth, except for even when it's truth, it fits. And the untruth doesn't fit. And so if she were to ask a pertinent question like that regarding her body and not get truth back, it still wouldn't fit for her, right? Like she would still be questioning it. It wouldn't. I always talk about, like, my baby has those toys where you put the shape, triangle fits in a triangle, a square fits in a square, a circle fits in a circle, and that's how truth is. And even if it's this, please God, don't let this be truth, it will fit. And that is where healing does begin. So it's very, very cool. I love that you allow for that validation.
Thank you. I want to add to what you just said, because a lot of men who are disclosing will really find this to be unproductive, right? And they're saying to me, are you sure? Like, she's first of all asking really damaging questions, and secondly, she keeps asking them over and over. Like, it's like, I don't know what else to give her. It's almost like she wants me to make something up to fit of what she believes. And my response is very similar to what you just said. If she's still fishing, she needs more information. And usually it's not about validating herself and her own body or even her own thoughts. Usually it's about him taking the ownership that he did posture himself against her in that way, whether in thought or action. So it's so important that we really reconstruct our relationship with our intuition as partners, so that we can utilize that power inside to guide us in pretty much every area of this healing process.
I feel like I could talk to you about this for hours and hours and hours. And I just want to say something really fast. I'm going to sit on my knees. So I'm going to lift you up a little bit. I did this meditation the other day, brought by Thich Nhat Hanh, who's one of my very favorite Buddhist meditation teachers, and he tells of the story of pridefulness in a marriage, and how if you don't ask the questions, you assume, and the assumption drives you apart. And so he talks about this being true love. And true love is when you can go to your partner and say, he uses the words, "Dear one, I'm suffering, please help." For those people who come back to who responds to that. So say I'm in a relationship where I'm asking my husband for these answers to these hard questions. I'm almost saying in that, "Dear one, I'm suffering, please help." And for him to show up in that set of truthfulness, even though it is really uncomfortable, that is, if you will, true love. Whereas if he were to dismiss it or be so worried about her response that he can't give her the truth, that relationship's not going to work, right?
Unless she decides to deny that part of herself and settle for that.
You're right. That's right. But I wouldn't describe that as a working relationship or a healthy relationship. But that's exactly right. That's so cool. I love that. So tell us a little bit about, obviously, Hope is very, very experienced, has a lot of education, a lot of knowledge. That's why I'm so excited to be doing these series with her. So Hope, tell us a little bit about your personal experience with betrayal trauma, if you have any, or what got you interested in this work.
Yes. Well, I was married once very young, right out of college, and that situation was my first experience of betrayal from an intimate partner. And what it illuminated for me was that I actually had other attachment injuries and other pains in my that I actually had gotten so accustomed to wearing. It was like wearing a bra, in the sense that it's a really an uncomfortable contraption, but because we get so used to it over time, we don't even notice it anymore.
Forget it's there.
Yeah, until the end of the day, right? And it's like, hey, where, anyway. So I felt there was this experience. It was like my pain and betrayal was like a corridor into this self-discovery, where, taking off the bra or the mantle of beliefs and ideologies I had about myself or others. And it was extremely painful to go through that, because it was all at once for me. Now, my marriage didn't work out. In part, I do believe it was part of it had to do with our youth, very young, in early 20s, really no resources, no financial resources to get the help we would have needed. And this was quite a while ago. This was a long time ago. So the books that we have now and the Instagram lives that we have now exist. So, I found myself really looking around for information. And at that point, I began to start cataloging my own list of things that were working and weren't working. And so fast forward, I was preparing to be a therapist, and it's funny, I see someone here who's joined. It's my dear friend Toby. And Toby, I have to say to you, because she walked with me through this journey, she said this to me once. She said, Hope, it seems like you have taken your healing and repackaged it to give to the world in the work you're doing. And this was years ago that she said that. So Toby, I love you, and you're right. But I must say that the complex partner trauma model that I introduced to, my colleagues in 2014 is in part, from my own experience, but really my experience isn't the syllabus for that. I've worked now with hundreds and hundreds of women in groups and workshops and individual therapy intensives, and I've been able to really understand what we need to do to heal from this stuff in all, whether he's in recovery or not in recovery, or divorce is already happening, or the children are older, or the kids are little, or I'm pregnant, or whatever it is. There's so many contexts. We run a ministry together. We own a business together. And the truth is that there is a methodology here. And as you know, Sariah, I'm moving into putting that into material that's digestible for the world so that more people can have it. So yeah, my story gave me a pair of eyes and ears to understand the pain, and I'm so grateful for it. And then at the same time, that's when I began all my training and working with other women. And even while I was still healing, I was starting to work with other women. But I'm to a point now where I've allowed all their experiences to really inform this model I've created. And I say we've created, really, because it's because of them that I get this stuff as well as I do. So about that.